Hi everyone, and welcome to this new video. And this will be the third video of my language series called Language Fallacies. I think the third one will be about sounding natural without speaking to foreigners who are native in this language, or without speaking to native speakers. I think this is a fallacy. Why? Because you cannot sound natural from if you only learn from books. You have to learn from native speakers. Of course, if you learn only from native speakers, the process is going to be very tedious and very slow. You have to speed up the process by reading and listening to textbooks for beginners to build your knowledge, but without contact and without regular conversations with the native speakers, you will not be able to develop a feel for the language, for the natural language that is spoken in the country, because you will speak either with very formal words that are not used, or outdated words, and you don't really know how people say things. And I really noticed that when I started to watch Turkish TV shows, that they don't speak like the way you are taught in a textbook. So to be able to speak naturally in a very natural way, you have to speak a lot with the native speakers. Like, my English doesn't sound very natural because I never speak it, except when I am in a country where I don't speak the language, like in Hungary, but a few people that I met in Hungary do not speak English, so it's not helping me for my English. No, it's not a problem. I just need to find native speakers and to expose myself to the natural speech of those persons. And I think eventually I might learn to speak like them. The Swedish or the Dutch case is very interesting, because if you look at Sweden, almost everyone speaks flawless English. It's because they are exposed to natural speech. They listen so much to English in their daily life because they watch tons and tons and tons of TV programs only in English, and subtitles they get it in Swedish or in Dutch, and that's the way they learn. That's why they sound so fluent in this language, because they have always learned from something that is natural speech. And why another reason why you should speak to native speakers is to convert your passive knowledge into active knowledge. Actually, you know a lot of words, but when you want to use them, you forget it. You forget them, and this is completely normal. If you don't use a few words that you know, you will forget them. Like, I wanted to say a boat in Persian, and I was totally forgot how to say it, and eventually I said it in Turkish because the person who I was speaking with was also able to speak Turkish, so I said vapur, or I said tekne, and then they say, kashti, and I remember, okay, I learned the word kashti, so I can use it again. Now I've used it twice, and I know how to use kashti. And I was speaking with someone from Afghanistan, and I needed to say some words, but I forgot how to say them in Persian. So I decided to ask him in English. So one of a piece of advice I would give you is to speak to a native speaker who can always speak a second language that you have in common. Um, yeah, a language that you can speak very well. Like they speak, you are learning Persian, and they speak Persian and English. So if you forget a word, you can still ask them. In my case, I just asked it in Turkish, and as they since they know both languages, they can help me out. And yeah, speaking to natives, it's really fun because you get to learn and to see your progress. When do you have to speak to native speakers? I think not too early with exotic languages, because you will feel overwhelmed by how difficult it is to speak, and sometimes you will get discouraged. Like I remember when I was, I'm still learning actually Persian, but after 3 months, I tried to have a conversation. It was a complete mess, and I didn't know any words, and I didn't understand a lot. So I think it's an experience. You are gaining points, but if you're frustrated and you say, "Oh no, I've been learning 90 days and I can't say anything," and so on, you'll give up. But if you say, "Okay, it's just an experience. I need to learn more words, and it's a normal process to be frustrated a few times," uh, and eventually, if you speak more than 100 times, 200 times, you will feel more and more confident to do it. Um, it's like anything, like learning to ride a bicycle. You cannot succeed the first time you try to do it. You have to develop this ability, and it's just by doing it, by speaking a lot. But if when do you have to speak, you have to determine it yourself. I've been learning Persian for a year now, every day, and I spoke like 5 times or 6 times maximum. I think it's a pity because now I have accumulated a lot of vocabulary, but I need to expose myself to natural speech, watch more TV, because now actually what I'm doing is just learning by reading and listening to textbooks. But I feel um, the urge to do something else because I'm getting bored by this kind of learning. So maybe I'll go to Iran someday and try to speak to locals. I think it's the best thing to do, because when I was learning Turkish 5, 6 years ago, I remember after 7 months I went to Turkey, and it was very hard when you try to speak a completely different language, like Turkish, and you don't know any Turkic language. You have to let your brain absorb a completely new structure, new words. But eventually, when you speak a lot, you will get there, and when you listen a lot. Um, Another thing that I would like to stress is that if you watch a lot of dramas, TV shows in the target language, it will help a lot to develop this natural way of speaking, because they are not so formal and it's everyday speech, casual talks. So if you listen a lot, first time I didn't understand anything from this Turkish TV show, but I I just kept watching, and after I think 20 episodes, I started to understand more and more, and yeah, eventually I understood nearly anything, like 85 to 90% of what they said I could understand. And even if I didn't know the word, like like mermi. I've never heard this word mermi, but by watching and by analyzing the context, I can understand that it was a bullet. Just by, and you will learn a lot from TV shows and from people. Yeah, this was my message. So to wrap it up, you have to speak a lot with native speakers to um, convert passive knowledge into active knowledge, to gain a feel for the culture, to know how to speak it in a casual way, get better at speaking without a thick accent, and you will have fun. I think it's very challenging and very rewarding at the same time to practice a language with native speakers, because they are not going to slow down. They just speak the way they speak. And yeah, that's it. Have a nice day, and thank you for watching.